I promised you guys I would do a review on the China Study by Colin Campbell, and I want to make sure I get that in for you. It is a book I definitely recommend reading if you're interested at all in health and nutrition. It's not just made for vegans and vegetarians, so it's for everyone that's interested in health and nutrition. I highly recommend that if you're serious about health and nutrition that you will read it for yourself and make your own opinions and judgments on the book. But it is a book that does convert a lot of people that aren't into veganism for animal rights. It converts a lot of those people because of all the health benefits that are brought up in the book for plant-based diet. This book is written by Colin Campbell. The reason a lot of people that aren't into the animal rights aspect of veganism trust and really are interested by this book is because Colin Campbell is actually known for, at one point in time, being pro-animal protein, being pro-dairy, pro-meat in the diet, and he totally did a 180 throughout the course of his research. His career has been long and interesting, and he has been in the field since, I believe, the 1950s. He's been doing this for decades, and it's the amount of research, the depth of his research that has led him to become a vegan. It has nothing to do with animal rights for him. I'm not saying he doesn't care about animals or anything like that, but that's not really something that he discusses in the book. And he does discuss how he has been involved in some animal testing in some of his research and studies, so you know that he's not really in it for the animal rights aspect of it. He's not disrespectful of it, but that's not the main goal for him. So I took about 8 pages of notes on this book, so I'm going to try to go over some important notes that I took down, but it is just scratching the surface, you guys. It does not at all cover all the issues of the book. And the main reason I am totally behind this book too is that it doesn't just go into meat, it goes into casein, which is in dairy products. It's another reason I don't recommend that people simply go vegetarian. I think vegan is the only true healthy way to live and to eat. They go over casein more in the book, but essentially this quote kind of sums it up. Casein, which makes up 87% of cow's milk protein, promoted all stages of cancer progress. What type of protein did not promote cancer, even in high levels of intake? The safe proteins from plants, including wheat and soy. Again, and the soy has to be in limited amounts, as I've covered in my Is Soy Bad For You video. Kind of 3 main areas I want to talk about. The first, it goes over plant-based diet's effects on various diseases like diabetes, cancer, autoimmune diseases, different things like that. It breaks it down into all these categories, all these diseases, and how it profoundly prevents, treats, and can reverse a lot of these diseases and problems. And it goes into that in the book. Another part is him kind of discussing his own research, the China Study, which is what the book is based on. It was where the title comes from. It's about him and his research. He started out doing research pro-protein, pro-animal protein. Essentially, what happened was that he was assigned to third world countries to try to end world hunger, to figure out ways to get them protein and to stop world hunger. And of course, they started out thinking that it was because these countries weren't getting enough animal protein, and if we fed them a Western diet, maybe that would help solve the issues of world hunger. And what he actually found in a lot of these studies, and the most notably the China Study, is that the nations that were more westernized, meaning they had access to dairy and meat and were eating more fatty foods with these animal proteins, were the countries that were more prone to getting cancer. And so essentially this book is talking about how meat and dairy really promote cancer growth, and it's the protein that promotes the cancer, the animal protein. And it's just profound. The reason why the China Study really speaks volumes is because 90% of their ancestors are from the same gene pool, meaning they share a lot of similar physical characteristics, they share a lot of the same hereditary issues, and you have a level playing field, you know what I mean? Like, all of the people start off on a level playing field. It'd be difficult to do this kind of study in America because we have people from so many varied backgrounds and genetics and countries that it's really hard to have a level playing ground to start at, so we can test hypotheses, so we can see these effects that these proteins have on our health and our diet. Started breaking it down and looking at regions in China, and what he found was that the more industrialized and richer nations were the ones that had the higher cancer rates, that had higher obesity rates, that had higher heart issues, and the cause of death of the more rural areas where they ate more plant protein and had a very limited amount of meat and almost non-existent dairy, their causes of death were far different. They had a lot of just diseases related to their financial situation, like pneumonia or food poisoning or things like that, like things related to poor drinking water, diseases like that, but not the cancers, not the heart disease, not the diabetes that were in these countries that were eating high amounts of protein and dairy. So essentially, that is what the book is, that is the core of the book, is this study. It's almost frightening what he points out in the book about the condition of the medical community in our country, and how little emphasis is given on nutrition in medical school. From what he was saying, it sounds like maybe 2 or 3 of their courses are based on nutrition, and the rest are on, other areas. They don't focus on the nutrition aspect, which he is finding to be the most important treatment for cancer and reversing cancer and preventing all of these diseases. He goes over corruption in the medical industry and how certain food corporations and companies are actually funding the research of these scientists and funding classrooms, funding books for these doctors. So they have a big say in what happens in the medical community. And I remember one part of the book that really struck me as being profound was when he was talking about this particular doctor that had kind of turned away from Western medicine. He started looking more to nutrition and having a plant-based diet for his patients, and he was seeing such profound results for cancer and diabetes and different diseases, that when the doctors that he worked with, they pretty much told him that there was no way they were going to implement these techniques with their patients, because they said their patients wouldn't follow through on it, or there wasn't enough research done on it, or whatever. They actually came to this doctor for treatment when they got sick. They actually went to this doctor for their own personal treatment and care. The reason they weren't giving the nutrition advice was because it comes down to money again. If we take charge of our health, if we take charge of what we put in our bodies, which is essentially what we become, because we are what we eat, if we take charge of that, and if nutrition plays such a huge part in our health, and doctors feel like they're losing their control, that they won't make as much money. And that is my main issue. Like, until doctors take money out of the equation, are they really doing everything in our best interests? If money is still in the equation, they're going to want to prescribe us expensive prescription drugs, expensive pills, expensive surgeries. They're going to want to promote those things. They aren't going to want to promote nutrition, because then their jobs become more obsolete if we're taking control of our health more. And that's kind of the feeling I got from reading the book. There's one quote that really sums that up. If nutrition were better understood and prevention and natural treatments were more accepted in the medical community, we would not be pouring so many toxic, potentially lethal drugs into our bodies at the last stage of disease. We would not be frantically searching for the new medicine that alleviates the symptoms but often does nothing to address the fundamental causes of our illnesses. We would not be spending our money developing, patenting, and commercializing magic bullet drugs that often cause additional health problems. The current system has not lived up to its promise. It is time to shift our thinking toward a broader perspective on health, one that includes a proper understanding and use of good nutrition. Other issues have brought up, other countries spend on average only about 1/2 of what the U.S. spends per capita on health care. Isn't it reasonable, therefore, for us to expect our system to rank above theirs? Unfortunately, among these 12 countries, the U.S. system is consistently among the worst performers. I thought it really telling that one of the top causes of death in our country, I think it was either number 2 or 3, were medical errors made by doctors by prescribing the wrong prescription, from unnecessary surgery, from error. That was frightening to me that so many deaths were caused by the medical community, and we're not really recognizing that or acknowledging that. He also goes over why it's bad for children to consume dairy. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but at least in the U.S., girls are getting their period at younger ages, they're developing breasts, and they're reaching puberty at earlier ages, and a lot of this is because of the hormones in dairy products. Here T. Colin Campbell kind of goes over it. The strong association of high animal protein, high fat diet with reproductive hormones and early age of menarche, which is menstruation, both of which raise the risk of breast cancer, is an important observation. It makes clear that we should not have our children consume diets high in animal-based foods. If you are a woman, would you ever have imagined that eating diets higher in animal-based foods would expand your reproductive life by 9 to 10 years? As an aside, an interesting implication of this observation, as noted by Ms. Magazine founder Gloria Steinem, is that eating the right foods could reduce teenage pregnancy by delaying the age of menarche. He also goes into why crash diets don't work and why fad diet books all kind of get tossed away and sent to Goodwill. I don't know how many Atkins diet books I've seen at Goodwill, and Dr. Atkins actually died of heart failure, so that speaks volumes about the high protein, animal protein diet, low carb diet, all of that stuff. So he goes over about why those kind of things don't work and how they don't maintain weight loss, because you can only keep up these kind of things for so long, and your body is going to reject the diet if it's not getting all the energy you need from carbohydrates, if it's not providing you what you need to function. Another quote he gives about dieting and why diets don't work: understanding the diet can cause small shifts in caloric metabolism that lead to big shifts in body weight is an important and useful concept. It means that there is an orderly process of controlling body weight over time that does work, as opposed to the disorderly process of crash diets that don't work. It also accounts for the frequent observation that people who consume low-protein, low-fat diets composed of whole plant foods have far less difficulty with weight problems, even if they consume the same or even slightly more total calories. He also goes on to explain why he doesn't have separate chapters in the book explaining diets for specific diseases, because as he has found in his research, plant-based diets work for all of these diseases, and it's something you don't have to closely monitor. It's something kind of organic. As long as you're eating lots of different kinds of foods, like you're not eating the same foods every day. You're switching it up. You're eating lots of different kinds of vegetables, grains, protein, and not animal proteins, plant-based proteins. If you're switching it up and changing it up and eating healthy food, you don't have to analyze every single thing you eat. You are going to be eating the appropriate diet for your body, and you'll start listening to your body. There is no such thing as a special diet for cancer and a different, equally special diet for heart disease. The evidence now amassed from researchers around the world shows that the same diet that is good for the prevention of cancer is also good for the prevention of heart disease, as well as obesity, diabetes, cataracts, macular degeneration, Alzheimer's, cognitive dysfunction, multiple sclerosis, osteoporosis, and other diseases. Furthermore, the diet can only benefit everyone, regardless of his or her genes or personal disposition. So there's no risk or harm in the diet as long as you're doing it correctly. And then he goes into studies and why there's so much conflicting information out there, and how it is really hard for us as consumers, as educated individuals, to make these choices, because there's so many different advertisements, there's so many different sources of information coming at us in all directions. And he points out that a lot of these companies, for example, the dairy industry, they fund these educational programs. They fund educational programs in our schools. They fund the food pyramid. They fund these things. So are you telling me that that information is not biased at all in the favor of dairy? They promote themselves as educational tools and kits, but on their tax return, they had to list those areas as marketing. So that's pretty frightening that they are controlling the minds of our children. I remember in school that's what we were taught. We were taught the food pyramid. We were taught that dairy was a really good source of protein and calcium, and never talked about anything negative about it, even though there was all this information about it out there. So that's a reason why we aren't getting this information, because our government is, sad to say, they're mixed up in it too. A lot of these people's campaigns are being funded by these companies that have interest in keeping all the negative information about them tucked away and blowing things out of proportion and making false claims and blowing studies out of proportion and making their own studies, and it's frightening. What has become so convincing about the effect of diet on health is the breadth of evidence. While a single study might be found to support almost any idea under the sun, what are the chances that hundreds, even thousands of different studies show a protective benefit of plant-based foods and or harmful effects of animal foods for so many different diseases? We can't say it's due to coincidence, bad data, biased research, misinterpreted statistics, or playing with the numbers. This has got to be the real deal. He was saying how it is more important to get those vitamins from what we eat than to take a supplement, because a lot of the times concentrated amounts of those vitamins are able to be incorporated into our body. And he goes into that more, but it's really the combination of the plant and the vitamins and all of the things in the plant that make that vitamin be readily absorbed and taken into our bodies and used. So he was saying how isolating a vitamin doesn't give us the health benefits of actually eating the vitamins in the plants and in whole foods. So don't rely on your nutrition from vitamins. I take a vegan vitamin supplement for my B12 and iodine and things like that, things that are harder for me to get in my everyday diet, but I don't recommend relying on vitamins for your nutrition, and neither does Colin Campbell. And he does recommend trying out the vegan diet for a month. He says a month isn't enough time to give you any long-term benefits, but it is long enough for you to discover 4 things. There are some great foods you can eat in plant-based diet that you otherwise may never have discovered. You may not be eating everything you want. Desire for meat may last longer than a month, but you will be eating lots of great, delicious foods. 2, it's not all that bad. Some people take to this diet quite quickly and love it. Many take months to fully adjust, but almost everyone will find that it's a lot easier than they thought. 3, you'll feel better. Even after only a month, most people will feel better and likely lose some weight too. Try having your blood work done before and after. Odds are you'll see a significant improvement in even that period of time. 4, most importantly, you'll discover that it is possible. You may love the diet or you may not, but at the very least you'll come away from your 1-month trial knowing that it's possible. You can do it if you choose to. All the health benefits discussed in this book are not just for Tibetan monks and fanatical Spartans. You can have them too. It's your choice. You guys, you have to read this book. It is a life-changing experience. I will never look at nutrition and food the same way. It started off with animal rights, and now it's become something so much more. It's become empowerment for my health. I can't afford health insurance. I have to take care of myself and my family for sure. Alright, I hope this wasn't too long and boring, and if you guys have any specific questions about anything that I didn't discuss or answer in this video, let me know. I might do another video if you guys would be interested on more specific areas of the book. So if there's anything like that you'd be interested, like about a specific disease or a specific health problem that you might be interested in, just let me know. I can't guarantee I'm going to make a video for every single one, but I'll try to do my best because there's so much information in this book. It is just mind-boggling. So it's a very difficult book to go through, but it's very worth your time and effort, and it just really cements how I feel about the vegan diet and a healthy, plant-based, whole foods vegan diet, not a junk food vegan diet. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and don't hesitate to ask me if you have any questions about anything.